Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to our opening lecture on Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I'm Dr. Mastro Marino, and what we're going to be looking at is a general overview of how you should go about actually reading this book and some key ideas and concepts. The book seems remarkably simple, and so honestly it's probably one of the most complex novels I have ever read. And what I'm going to give you is one very succinct kind of way to look at it. In an ideal world, you'd read the book multiple times. This is one possible reading to go through. So let's start with contrasts, which is one of the things that I think Conrad makes a very big deal about. So when we start with contrasts, four contrasts I want you to look at. He spends a lot of time looking at the difference between light and dark. Anytime you see that, you should be taking note of that. He spends a lot of time looking at life and death, a key issue thematically in almost any work of literature. There's a lot of talk about power and subjugation. On the surface, that seems simple because you might think that that is the Europeans versus the Africans. Yes, that's part of it, but there are even power struggles within the Europeans themselves. Marlowe's level of power, the power he's trying to take from or absorb even from Kurtz, his argument with station managers, so on and so forth, and where the economy of that power comes from, even in the simplest of objects. Think rivets when you get to them. Finally, I want you to look at the idea between civilization and savagery. There's a lot of talk about those two words in here, and when you have a novel that's this short, and that many times a word is coming up, there has to be something to it. Moving on from there, I want to look at the symbols in the book. One is the river. You can't deny the power of the river, why it matters. It's something that comes up in literature very, very frequently. In this case, think the river Styx. The analogy between there is simply undeniable. But there's so much more symbolically about a river, about travel, about movement, and those are things you should take note of. He spends a lot of time describing the river, what it looks like on the map, when he's in it, to the point where the river itself becomes a character within the book. And so anytime he's describing it, you really should be paying attention and taking note. The next is the jungle. No, not this jungle. That would be too nice. This jungle. Dark, foreboding, dangerous, completely unwelcoming. And that's what Marlowe is describing to you over and over again. Similar to the river, the jungle itself is its own character. And the descriptions of it are beautiful as well as they are terrifying. The ivory tusks. There's so much complicated about the ivory, the color of it, the use of it, how it's acquired, the obsession with it, and then finally its connection to what this book seems to all be about, which is Kurtz himself. And what I want you to look at specifically is not only just Kurtz and how they talk about him, which Kurtz functions almost as this, what we call a MacGuffin, this thing everybody's looking for the whole time. What it also does, literarily speaking, is what is the effect he has on everyone else around him? How does he affect not only Marlowe, but a number of the natives, a number of the Europeans, especially for a character who appears so briefly within the book. So these are all ideas that you should be keeping in mind as you read the book, as you're taking notes, and then eventually as you write about it as well.